You ever run your practice like a lemonade stand, just hoping people show up? Yeah, me too. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I figured out how much to charge and how many people I need in order to run a sustainable and profitable private practice without burnout or bankruptcy. All right, everybody pull up your chat and let's see. I expect everybody here to be a lot less shy than they have been. So I'm not going to talk a whole bunch. My goal tonight is to take you through the calculator um, and kind of show you it is in your, uh, I'm talking and clicking. You know, I do this. Okay, here I go. There we go. It's in your profile, in your Kate Walker training profile. So if you are able to find the Zoom for tonight, you are able to find the Google Sheet that I'm going to take you through. Fair warning, this is the first time I've ever made a Google Sheet to share. And I think I protected the formulas and did all the things I'm supposed to do, but now I'm worried that nobody's going to be able to input anything. So I will just if it's messed up and not working, I will absolutely figure out a way to fix it. So today's day 3. And if you are here, you're here because you don't want to make something new. We want to repackage and re-promote what you already have. You don't need more hustle, you just need more strategy. This sprint is for you if you're struggling to get traction with your current marketing. And everything I hear on social media is people are really unhappy because the phones aren't ringing. You're second guessing what you're doing as far as pricing or your website messaging. We focused on that yesterday. And if you weren't here, no worries. If you got all 4 nights, then you have the resources. I'm just putting the resources in your profile. I'm not trying to email them to you. If you're a Step It Up member, you get these replays plus the resources. If you are tired of blogging, creating content to crickets, right? You put stuff out there and you have no idea if anybody's listening. And we talked yesterday about how we talked about what we're going to talk about. We've got to shift from being the shiniest object in the ocean to creating a safe, warm environment where people can really get to know, like, and trust you. And of course, I'm going to use the I word. We're going to talk about income, increasing your income without starting from scratch. So day 1 was diagnose the gap. If you didn't come to day 1, but you have day 1, the resources are there to assess what you're already doing so you can identify a very powerful thing you can take action on. And we can even talk about that tonight if you're still confused about what to do. Yesterday, I gave you some before and after marketing. Just got a tickle in my throat. There we go. Sorry about that. I love it when I get on a microphone. My allergies can be fine all day long. And then I get on a microphone and So yes, we did talk about the irresistible client attractor, which is just a way to use more emotional language. So today we talk about money. There. Okay. So one of the things I know the mistake we probably all made, or at least thought about making, yep, allergies. Now my eyes watering. I have a very predictable allergy. I cough and then my eyes water. So we probably all thought about making the same mistake if we didn't already make it, and that is just undercharging. Um, I remember when I was first in private practice, I think I charged $50 a session, and I had another job, which I highly recommend you do that. But my goal was to make rent. If I could make my rent, then I didn't feel like I was being a drain on my family. right? They were supporting me. They were like, yeah, Kate, go for it. And I kept my other job, and I call that bridging, right? If you are going to be an entrepreneur, it's good to have a side hustle. It's good to have something else to bring in money. And I know people go back and forth on that. Um, but for me, I've always done that. I've been an entrepreneur even when I was a full-time teacher. I had things on the side that I would do. It's just that's my comfort. So you guys got to do you, but understand if you're watching me or listening to me and you have never been an entrepreneur before, private practice is entrepreneurship. It is not like just starting a business or being in business. I mean, you are an entrepreneur, and that's not for everybody. It's tricky. It can be terrifying. So I always had another job. As a result, I probably did underprice myself, and I might still underprice myself. But one thing I never did was I never raised my rate on existing clients. So if I have an existing client from 20 years ago and they come in and they're like, hey, Kate, I'm back to see you, I'll be like, okay, $50, even though that is not what I charge today. But I have no problem raising my rate for new folks. And there are ethics behind that, of course. If you do raise your rate on your existing clients, you do have to inform them in writing so they can consent again. It's not enough to just shoot them a text and for them to say, yeah, okay. So our codes of ethics are really clear about that. And then I talk about other side hustles that have to do with supervision because I sell a supervision course. I want you to become a supervisor. There are great ways to price counseling at a lower rate through associates, through your supervisees, in a way that you, as a practice owner now, because now if you're going to be using your associates to generate practice income, now you're a group practice owner. And it's a very profitable way to do that, to earn money and serve your community at a lower rate and not take insurance and offer free supervision. I called that the Ann's Place model, and I'm not going to talk about that tonight. There's a podcast episode on that, on the Badass Therapist Building Practices That Thrive, where I go into detail about that. But just I want to get that out here that we are not, I'm not trying to sell you. None of this I'm trying to sell you, but I'm not trying to convince you to be a concierge provider and go out there and charge thousands and thousands of dollars if your heart is telling you to serve an underserved community that can't even get approved for Medicaid. Right. I think there's room for all of that, bless you on either side. But I really think that this calculator can help because so few of us look at numbers, and we're counselors. I mean, our clients don't look at numbers. I mean, if you've worked with couples where one partner works 100 hours a week and you're trying to ask, okay, what is the number? How many dollars do you need in the bank for you to cut back on your hours? And they're like, I don't know what the number is. That's a problem. So tonight we are going to talk about numbers, specific numbers. They won't feel comfortable because we're guessing. We're guessing on all of it. I know my first degree, if you've listened to me before, my first degree in school was music. I found a degree that I only needed 3 hours of math total for my entire bachelor's degree. I mean, I did not really embrace math, but you have to. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a business owner, you can't stick to this idea, well, I'm just not a numbers person. That's like saying, I'm just an ideas person. Somebody else is going to take care of the details. You can't do that because then you become a burden. You become a burden on people who will eventually have to swoop in and save you because you overpaid your staff or you are undercharging your clients or you didn't have a good policy for no-shows. I have a podcast episode on that too. I don't charge no-show fees for first sessions. Yes, I know their paperwork is filled out, but I am religious about no-show fees for everybody else, right? It just, that's always going to be a thing. So if you're listening to me tonight in order to, get extremely wealthy with your concierge counseling business, no judgment, bless you. If you are listening to me tonight because you want to find a way to serve an underserved community, bless you. We're going to figure out a way to do that. And honestly, I started working on this idea after interviewing a nurse practitioner in a community where I had a counseling office. And so we were both serving sort of this underserved community. And she made the paper, they did an article on her practice because no one paid over $60, I think. It didn't matter if they broke their leg or they needed a Band-Aid. Nobody paid over $60. And I was just floored because this little community was right next to the Woodlands, Texas. And if you know the Woodlands, Texas, it's just like all the other towns that have a capital T and the in their name, right? And so I interviewed her and she was amazing. And they had a fabulous business model where they could keep their prices down. They took zero insurance because honestly, the community we served, they couldn't get insurance. Or if they had insurance, it put them on somebody's radar. They didn't want to be on their radar. So it was really neat. And it opened me up to the possibility that actually that's how the Ann's Place model evolved. And it worked. It worked really well. In fact, I got overwhelmed, and that's why I don't do it anymore because it worked great. So, without further ado, let's look at the plug and play pricing calculator. And I'm going to try to zoom. Okay, that didn't work. Oh, I see you guys are already in there. All right. If you're in there, get out of there. I was like, what is that? All right. Get out of there for a minute, or actually get in there, but just watch, and then you can plug stuff in. Because I don't, like I said, I've never done this before. I think, ooh, okay, I think I know what you have to do. I think you have to do create a copy. Is that it? I see Lisa nodding her head. So if you make your own copy, then I can work on this one. All right, I'm going to share now.
Sorry, how do you do that? How do you create a copy?
I believe you. Somebody who can say it faster, unmute and tell us. Lisa, do you know how to make a copy?
File,
Yes.
make a copy.
Yep, up in file, make a copy.
File, make copy. Boom. All right, there we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. I didn't have the answer. All right, so if you want to get super technical, then you're going to need an actuarial table. I don't do that. I'm 58 years old and I want to live to be 104, but for our purposes, I'll say 95. So you see, we already have some things populating here. And so years above ground, that's about how many years I have left. Okay. Now, I assume, and I make this assumption for you guys, that you're going to get to be in assisted living for the last 5 years of your life, and you won't be working. I don't know if that's pie in the sky, who knows? But at today's rates, if you want to get your calculator out, go for it. At today's rates, let's say assisted living is $6,000 a month times 12, 72,000 times 5 years. That's about $360,000. So we're going to put that right here, 360. So that's obviously a number you can play with, right? If you want a $10,000 a month assisted living, or, but I landed on 6,000 at today's rates just because it seemed like a great number. It's so funny because I do this exercise with my students. Nobody thinks about retirement. Nobody thinks about this idea of, hey, guess what? You're an entrepreneur. You may not be paying into Medicare. You may not be paying into any of that unless you're set up as an S corp. So all of this, it's just like, you know, they're deer in the headlights. And one of the things that's, it's fascinating to me, women over 50, single women over 50 are one of the biggest poverty segments in our population, right? So we have these sort of like women, and it is women who maybe they look fine, but they're really not. And if they don't plan ahead, we don't teach them to plan ahead. If we don't plan ahead, then we become a burden. So potentially I could work for this many years, which is just your years above ground -5. Now that is pre-populated. I thought about letting you guys play with that number, and I changed my mind. I went ahead and said, nope, they're going to work right up until the day they go into assisted living. So that's why I said this is a lot of, we're guessing. All right, now yearly expenses, this is where it gets a lot of people very anxious because it's like, but I don't want to sit and do my light bill. I mean, if you have something like Rocket Money, I love this. My adult daughter, my middle kiddo, actually introduced this to me. Rocket Money, it's different than QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks could get very technical, and I love that for my business. But for my personal, it's really cool because it shows you how much you spend every month. So if we just say, for the sake of argument, that we're all single and we all spend about $3,000 a month, then that's going to be $36,000 a year. And that is a formula you can put in. Now we see more things populating. We've got lifetime expenses, which that's your yearly expenses. This number we just did, times your working years above ground, plus your assisted living expenses, because this is all we're going to multiply by. You're 32, that's it. Because then from there on out, it's just this fixed number of how much the last 5 years of your life will cost your estate. That's going to cost your treasure chest because you won't be working. I left a blank here for other expenses, like if you know that you're going to be supporting someone else for the rest of their life, or you have student loans and you just don't plan, you're going to be paying those off forever, you can always put that kind of stuff in there. So what I want you to notice, though, the annual income needed to meet that lifetime goal, and you guys know I'm kind of undershooting here. It's only $47,250, right? Even though we have over $1 million in lifetime expenses, right? You following that? We just took our lifetime expenses and divided it by our working years above ground. We have 32 years to make $1.5 million.
But you're working until 90 there, right? Or no? I mean, if you're working for 32 more years, I don't want to work until I'm 90.
Well, and that's part of this too. You can definitely take this and do it a different way. Like if your expected lifespan, you can play around with that number and it'll change it up for you. But this is also going to help you understand rate and how many clients you see too, because obviously this is way low, right? I mean, if you have a family of 5, your expenses may be 3 times that, right? So you may have to work until you're 90, depending on what you charge. So if you look here, like if you say, I just put this number first, if you say, I want to charge $150 an hour, then I need to see 6 clients a week to make my annual goal if I want to work till I'm 90. Right? So if I charge $200 an hour, I only need to see 4 clients a week. Right? If you take insurance and you know you're only going to make $40 an hour, then you're going to need to see 22 clients a week. till you're 90.
Is that a week or a day? Just hearing 6 clients a week, I'm like, wait a minute.
Week.
Okay.
Yeah, because the way I did it was I took the lifetime expenses, right? Your yearly expenses divided by, I mean, guys can put it on your phone, take your yearly expenses, or how much, it's not expenses, it's how much you need to make, and divide it by the rate you want to charge. Right? I mean, if it's $300, you only need to see 3 clients a week. This is why you hear people like me say, if you charge more, you can work less, right? But these are the numbers that you need to at least start with, because Casey's right. I mean, if you don't want to work till you're 90, well, you're only going to have, you guys can't change that number, but you may only have 10 earning years left. These are really, really important. We talk about this all the time. You know, the 30s are your earning years, your 40s are your earning years. I mean, I started my career in counseling late. I was really, well, I was in my 30s, but I didn't get my PhD till I was 40. So I tell my kids all the time, I had to play catch up. You know, my retirement plan finally looks like, oh, okay, I might be able to, you know, have a month in assisted living. No, it's not that bad. But part of this is really forcing you, I hope, to think about what the future is like, right? So yeah, tell me, I mean, we can unmute. How long do you guys want to work? How many years?
In my case, 20 years.
20 more years.
Mhm.
So if we said,
Well, at least full time, like I don't want to be full time, let's say when I'm 65, but I still want to do things that I like, but in a more relaxed.
right. So
Yeah.
I would play with this number with the, don't play with your age and lifespan in this, you know, the assisted living thing. But if you didn't use these numbers at all, just take your yearly expenses and divide it by, or lifetime expenses, I'm sorry, and divide it by 20 years. You know, 1,000,005 divided by 20, you can do it on our calculator. 1, 5, lots of zeros. Divided by 20 years is $75,000 a year, which is still doable. Right? And your expenses go down. Well, no, they stay the same. That's one of the things that, you know, you have to kind of look at. If we took our yearly expenses and we doubled it, let's go ahead, 36,000 times 2. So 72,000. Even doubling your yearly expenses, if everything else stays the same, I'm going to take that back down to $150 an hour. That's 10 clients a week. Right? And that's, and again, I know we're undershooting this, but the reason I take my students through this exercise is because they are on the internet consuming so much about, I've got to get licensed in multiple states. I've got to hire a marketing team for my social media. I have to do all this, spend all this money on website copy. And I'm like, okay, let's do the math. If you take 10 people a week, it's the same 10 people, right? So that's 10 people in a month. Then let's figure in attrition, 5, 10, 15, 20, let's say 20 people. So in other words, 5 people get better every week, 5 people quit every week. Something happens to 5 people every week. So 5, 10, 15, 20, that's 4 weeks, 20 people. That's 30 people a month. 30 people a month times 12. That's 360 people. That's all. I mean, I don't know what town you guys live in, but my example yesterday was Houston, right? I lived in Houston. I mean, that's 7, it's maybe not 7, 4 million people. I think I can find 360 people without having to spend money on Google ads or Facebook ads, right? But it's about going back to the basics which is positioning yourself as an expert in the community, increasing your like, know, trust factor. So you get referrals even from people who don't book with you. And then you play the game of getting back to people quickly and being very, very helpful. And the biggest gift of all is you give them resources so they can be helpful. Everybody wants to be helpful. Everybody wants to be the one to hand the resource to their cousin or their neighbor that doesn't say, you need therapy. It says, hey, this could be really helpful for your kiddo because I know they're going off to college next year. Where'd you get that? Oh, well, that's the name right there. All right, I'm going to keep sharing this, but I know hopefully you guys have it up in front of you too. Ask questions. I mean, we can talk about messaging again. You can ask more about the calculator. What do you guys think?
This is just considering the active income, meaning what I get paid per session, but it's not considering the more, passive income, like let's say, things that you're doing on the side, or maybe supervising, and then 3 LPC associates are having sessions and we're doing a splitting, and maybe, it depends, like there are so many possibilities, but this is just active income when it comes to what I'm getting paid for sessions, but it's not considering the additional income.
Right. And that's an excellent point because now we're looking at it like a puzzle. I'm going to start typing over here. So if we look at this number, 2,664,000, lots of zeros, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we say, okay, that's the magic number. Well, if you didn't want to see 10 clients a week, you only wanted to see 5 clients a week, well, then oh, that's a bold number. I can't change that. I was going to make this so you could change the number of clients a week, but so half that, right? You would only make 41,000 a year. Well, now you have to get another side hustle, or your partner, or some other source of income has to come into play so that you can make your magic number. That's what I like about this calculator, because it gives you a number. And y'all, you can do the same thing by going and sitting across from a financial advisor. They love stuff like this. I think theirs are a lot more complicated though, but probably more accurate. Right. So part of being an entrepreneur is having that bridge, especially if you're just starting out. Don't quit your day job. Keep that income coming in. But also, people ask me all the time, when do I know it's okay to quit the day job and go full time into private practice? When you hit your number, right? When you see and you look at because if you can't count it in not in counseling, but in the data gathering, the bookkeeping, right? If you can look at your data and they say, you have 11 clients a week at $150 an hour. Congratulations. You need to have a little bell that goes off and you're like, okay, I can quit my day job. I'm doing it. And then you don't freak out when you get to 9 clients a week because somebody got better. You're like, oh, that's all right. I'm going to market. I need more intakes this month. I need to only get to 10. Because if you don't have a number, then you're freaking out thinking you need to get a license in Georgia. Or you're crying because the compact didn't pass. More questions. And we can talk about anything. We can talk about messaging, anything you like.
The nurse practitioner that you mentioned, is there a blog or a podcast of the interview that you did with her?
No, this was like pre-blog, pre-everything. This was like back in probably 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Because go ahead.
Well, I just wondered, what was the format for your interview? Was it like a personal interview or like a live event?
Well, I saw her in the paper, and back then I would if somebody would agree to have coffee with me, I would just sit with anybody. And when I saw her in the paper, I called the clinic and
That's
I was
awesome.
like, would she be willing to just sit down with me? And they're like, yeah. And so I just bought her coffee.
That's really cool.
But I did that to everybody. If somebody,
Yeah.
because I wanted to know from other industries, right? Not just counselors, because all of the counselors were like, I'm going out of business. I'm losing my lease. I've got 14 counselors and none of them are paying their rent. And I was like, huh.
Yeah, I think I know the place you're talking about. I think it's close to me, and I think I actually used them one time when we were living full time on the road, and we were RVing. So we were in a weird insurance situation too. So it's just kind of small world. But
Rayford,
that
on Rayford
model
Road.
really stood out to me as very cool as well.
Was it on Rayford Road?
Oh no, this one is on 105.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the model spread. She may have been a pioneer, you know?
Yeah, that's neat.
I have a quick question that's more administrative than anything. Tomorrow I can make it if I do it in the car with the time frame, but I
Yeah.
joined the Step It Up thing, and so I know that there's so much value in the information that you have. I've been following you for a long time, but I haven't joined,
Oh,
and I
thank
was like,
you.
I really just need to get some stuff together and like commit and do it. So I joined, and I'm really excited about it. And I know that the replay is also available.
Yes.
I was going to ask, what are we covering, and is it better to join live, or what are your thoughts?
Honestly, if you don't have questions and you know that, because you've been asking questions the last few
Right.
days, because you'll get the resources. And if you just need the resources as a reference, you're fine. And I've been telling Step It Up members in our little newsletter, like, if you don't make it, that's fine. Just especially if you like to watch the replays.
How quickly do you get that replay up? Because I know I feel like I'm kind of in the groove, and I definitely don't want to lag on it.
It'll probably be a few weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That may be the deciding factor for me then. You may be seeing me from the car tomorrow.
That's fine. I think somebody else joined us from the car. That's why I didn't do CEs for this one. I didn't, people don't have their
Right.
camera on. It's fine.
Okay. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm looking at the chat. Oh, good. You asked your question. Stephanie said you can adjust and just put whatever age is 5 years past when you want to stop instead of expected lifespan. Yeah, that's true. When you play with these numbers, I know it's kind of morbid, expected lifespan, then go to the actuarial table and it'd be like, I'm only going to live to 83. It's like, put in whatever number you want. Because what you're looking for is your earning years. You're trying to isolate your earning years. And that, honestly, that's the math problem. Your lifetime expenses divided by your earning years. And we're just trying to I'm sorry, we're trying to translate that into dollar per hour, which is now you see why counselors get burned out, right? I mean, this is like if people, and believe me, I think insurance is a godsend, but I also know that if you're only making, $60 an hour and we've undershot these expenses, I mean, that's people have to make what they have to make. I mean, people got to put, bread on the table. So if you're shooting for that and these expenses are just laughably low, this is where you might have to change your entire business model. This is where you might really think about getting off of insurance or adding a side hustle or, you know, doing something that gets you out of the dollar per hour. Because we haven't even talked about if you need new tires on your car or if you get sick or your kids get sick or your mom gets sick. If you have to go be a full-time caretaker. And that's why, I mean, I know we've got Nick and Jason on here, and the fact that we have a mixed, we've got different types of wage earners and people who have to, provide for their family in different ways. Uh, this can be a real wake-up call, and it's hard. when you think about if you're putting everything you have into this idea of finding the perfect rate, right? It's like, yeah, that may not be the thing that saves you. It may be things like, okay, I only want to work with 15 clients a week, and I need to be home because I have a sick parent and I'm a caretaker. This is as much as I'm gonna make, it looks like. So then you can make that decision to add the side hustle or get another job.
Something I wanted to throw in on the insurance side.
Yeah.
I'm in College Station. Texas A&M is huge here,
Mhm.
and all of Texas A&M staff are on Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they pay me $93.88 an hour, which isn't bad. Cigna
Yeah.
used to pay me $62, so I fired them.
Good.
And then our major hospital network, St. Joseph's, is $109 an hour, which isn't bad. And so I've been sitting at 20 to 30 clients for 2 years now. Haven't really had to do any marketing. I pay my $30 to psychologytoday.com and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible, but the first year and a half, it was a real struggle.
Right. And 20 to 30 clients a week may not always be sustainable. I know I sound like Debbie Downer a little bit, but here, that's if you never get sick or someone close to you doesn't need you, or, I mean, but I'm glad you've got that reliability of that system. And where I came from, Conroe ISD, it's kind of the same thing. They were the biggest employers in that part of Texas. So you knew if you took whatever the teachers took, you're going to have a full caseload, right? And there's a definite trade-off, and I talk about this a lot. If you have insurance, you don't need to market as hard. You can kind of lay back a little bit and let the referral network from the insurance do the work. After all, that's what you're paying them for.
Yeah, but I think that that's why I joined this, because I do take insurance, and there was a huge drop off at the beginning of the year, specifically around Psychology Today referrals, and that system that Jason has been using has been working for me for decades, and it's failing me now.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't move, and nothing changed with me. So that's why I'm here.
Well, and that's what I've heard from the food bloggers and the exercise bloggers and the people in my, that I run with. It's the algorithm, the Google AI, whatever they're doing, whether they're making out or they're fighting, I don't know what, but it's just changed everything as far as what's worked in the past. And Psychology Today, I don't think can battle.
Agreed.
So, all right, guys, play with the numbers. Come up with your number, and tomorrow we're going to put it all together. And that's one of the things you will get tomorrow is a sample Psychology Today profile, and it's going to incorporate the messaging we've talked about. And it's the title of the thing tomorrow of the webinar is Promo Like a Pro. So promoting yourself and going beyond messaging, also to out of your comfort zone. How are you going to position yourself in the community? How are you going to make sure the people that do love you and they want to be in your circle, how do you welcome them in? Spoiler alert, it's email. Sorry, but there you have it.
Great. Thank you.
All right, guys, have a wonderful evening.
You too, thank you.
If this episode made you go aha or gave you a mild panic attack, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and grab the free resource at katewalkertraining.com/free guide. And don't forget to hang out for the next video in the Smart Practice Sprint.